This episode of GameSetMatch is sponsored proudly by Canadian Joysticks, where you can get a wide selection of buttons, balls, and bat chops, as well as combo fight sticks and much more. Make sure to shop at local and get shipped local in Canada at CanadianJoysticks.com. Welcome back to GameSetMatch. Once again, I am Minako, and I want to thank you all for tuning in to this amazing episode. And I'm here with one of my absolute best friends in the FGC. He has quite a repertoire beyond just the FGC, but also within the FGC as well. Most everyone I know has heard of him. But if you haven't, he has worked in media production in Seoul, Korea for over a decade. And he's compiled a list of high-profile clients such as like Anthony Bourdain, Vox Media, Riot, and Giorgio Armani. In 2015, he began to bring his own style of production into long-form video essays on fighting games on his channel Kore Gaming. And beyond the camera, he is also the EVO 2019 Punch Planet and EVO Japan 2020 Sailor Moon S champion. We're talking about Kore Gaming's Gerald Mintcheerios Lee. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so it's pretty early over there. It's a lot later here. Did you have any mint Cheerios while you were getting ready for this?
No. I ate honeycomb. I actually got tired of Cheerios, and I've tried all the varieties, and there's no mint Cheerios, sadly. But yeah, honeycomb is my jam right now.
Have you ever petitioned for the mint Cheerios? It seems like a popular thing now to bring out the niche flavors.
Yeah, I think it's not weird enough, like the niche flavors. It would have to be something like, mustard Cheerios or something that can be kind of like a meme. Whereas mint Cheerios, you can kind of see that as like it's just a regular bad idea, not an extremely abhorrent idea. So I don't know if it would ever get greenlit.
Yeah, and I also want to mention is like this is the second time I've interviewed you. The first time was in a text interview on SRK, but it always feels weird for me, and almost a full circle doing these with you. In that the first time I was at Arcade Stream in Korea, you sat me down to do a quick interview about EVO 2015 coming up and asking about who I thought would win. So yeah, it's just wild being on the other side of it with you.
Yeah, no, it's been a long time. It's good to be reunited here, even if it's in digital form.
Yeah, hopefully in real life one day. I mean, the pandemic took it out on all of us to travel and like do majors and stuff, but hopefully one day.
Yeah. Well, I'm always open.
All right, well, we're just going to jump in from here, and we're going to start with the setup, which is we want Gerald to play a match just to show his chops in fighting games. But it is a setup because he's about to do some interesting challenges just to get a W in the game. So Gerald, what we've sent to you now is a bingo card. And your goal is to look at this bingo card and play a match and figure out the best way to get lines and try and get as many lines as you can. And just for the record, KBR got 2 lines, so the bar has been set on the first episode.
All right, let's take a look at these questions, or not the questions, I guess the challenges, right? So FGC bingo. Okay, so 1 anti-air 2 times in a game. I think that's pretty easy, right? I mean, it's Street Fighter, right? You have to anti-air. Unless I fight Daigo, who never jumps. I probably won't fight Daigo. 2, play around without neutral drive rush. I think I can do that. I'm not super heavy on the neutral drive rush, even though this is a game where you kind of have to. But I feel like I don't have to rely on that. But that one's a little bit harder, I think, just out of habit. Win around and burnout. Yeah, that's Yeah, I guess if I would have to purposely put myself in burnout if I was playing well, right? So
Yeah.
it would be kind of. Well, I actually know that's actually not too hard because like I can just like if I'm on the final combo, I can just EX dump or
Mhm.
something and try to get burned out like on purpose, and I can just do a combo to get burnt out. So I think that one is actually pretty doable. Um, Win a round without throws. Oh, that's kind of tough because like if I'm like in those situations where you have to throw tech, sometimes if my opponent misses the throw tech, I'll throw them, right?
Yeah,
So
that's the Yomi.
yeah, that's kind of a tough one to do purposefully. 5, don't get hit while doing a taunt. Oh, so that means I have to do a taunt and make my opponent really angry. Um, but I can't get hit. So I mean, I could just get a knockdown and do that, right? But then my opponent will be very upset. Maybe I'll do it at the end of the match or something. Um, Number 6, play around with only medium buttons. Oh, that can be tough. Um, yeah, that's I can try. But if with only medium buttons, I can still do drive parry and drive rush.
Right.
So that's actually I have a lot of tools with me. Yeah, that's I can try that one. 7, win a match without using all your resources at any time unless it is to win a round or a game. Oh, so no meter dumping. Um, or I guess in this situation, don't be empty.
Yeah.
Resource empty. Okay, I
If
think
it does, yeah, because if it doesn't kill, then you've meter dump for nothing.
yeah. Okay, well, I think that's just a good way to play in general, right?
Hmm.
If you want to be resourceful. So 7. Okay. 8, win a match without burning out. Um, okay. But a match, not just a round. Win an entire match without burning out. Okay. I'm. Uh, yeah. That is a challenge. I can do. 9, win a round without using drive impact at all. Ooh, this will be a problem in those situations where you have to drive impact because your opponent's, does it, and you have to answer back. Um, yeah, that might be a tough one. Um, yeah, I can see maybe doing the left row 147. Try to get one of those.
Hmm.
But after that, I'll have to see what else I can get. But yeah, why don't we get into it? All right, let's try this. IDGAF. I don't go. All right. See if I can anti-air you twice. No throws. It's gonna be hard. Hadouken. Hope you jump a lot. I can't throw for a round? That's so tard. Oh, that was my anti-air chance. Oh, air throws? Okay. Okay, try to jump. Jump out. Anti-air. There's one anti-air. Do another jump. Oh, that could have been it. Okay, jump. Jump at me, I dare you. Oh, I got my jump. I didn't capitalize. Okay, that was an anti-air. Yeah, alright. Now I just gotta win this round. Oh no, I can't win if I do that. Jump at me. Alright, I got 2 anti-airs there. No throws. I just gotta win this game. I think I can do it. Alright. Oh no! Alright, I can throw now. Not good enough. Oh no! I was in the air. Okay. Oh, this is gonna hurt. Not good. Okay. Oh, the jab. Okay, I gotta win this. I gotta win this without using all my resources. Oh, nice anti-air. Oh, shit. Oh, I got the wall splatted? That's not good. Got the anti-airs ready. I pressed it, but this is not good. Oh, you just jabbed there? Okay, I failed. I'm sorry. Sorry, everyone. I did my best.
Okay, and now that we finished with that, we're going to move on to the second segment, which is the reset, where we're just going to reset and ask Gerald a whole bunch of questions, rapid fire, and see what he has to say. So, Gerald,
Awesome. I'm ready.
you're ready?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Gerald, your first FGC content video was actually an open letter to Jimmy Kimmel in response to a monologue segment where he denigrated people watching video game streamers.
To me, watching another person play video games is like going to a restaurant and having someone eat your food for you.
Where you tried to explain the merits of spectating competitive games alongside spectating sports. In an era where the largest Twitch stream categories are IRL and just chatting, how are we going to know when esports has reached legitimacy? Do you feel like fighting games have moved closer to that in any way?
Yeah, so this is kind of an interesting question, especially in the light of me having traveled to Canada recently for an esports summit. While I wouldn't be so optimistic as to say that this is going to be a fast and easy process, there is a lot of progress that's been made. Obviously, when I made that video, I think it was in 2015, the first Core analysis video, it was kind of more, that situation was, it was different because this was before a lot of these television personalities were actually embracing gaming on some level, right? So if you look at like someone like Conan O'Brien, you could I don't know if you remember, like he wasn't really a gamer. He didn't understand this stuff, but he did jump into Final Fantasy 15 and kind of gave it a try and made it into a thing, right? He kind of jumped into it without knowing what he was getting into.
Pseudo FGC related. He also did play a For Honor as well. I do remember that video as well. So yes.
Yeah. So I guess this is the thing where there's, but gaming is not a monolith, right? There's a lot of different levels of gaming and how much you're invested in it. For example, like Grand Theft Auto is this kind of its own thing compared to something like fighting games, right? Like Street Fighter. I think it was like at one point there was a weekend when they're releasing an Iron Man movie, and usually when they're releasing films, major Hollywood films, they'll try to choose a weekend that's not interfering with another movie or another hit movie that's coming out. So they thought they were in the clear, but that was the weekend of I think Grand Theft Auto 5 releasing, or 4, one of the Grand Theft Autos, and they realized that everyone just got Grand Theft Auto and stayed home that weekend, and it hit the sales of Iron Man. And I think this is when the industry realized, like, oh, okay, this form of entertainment is it matters, right? And so of course the Jimmy Kimmel thing was kind of I mean, during that time it was new and strange for a lot of people, the idea of Twitch and these platforms, even YouTube as well, where watching video gaming was a thing that was gaining a lot of traction. And for me, it made total sense that would be the case, because if you flip on traditional television, you can see people watching all sorts of activities. People watch other people house building. People watch other people fishing. people watch other people talk. They're called talk shows, right? I mean, people are watching other people doing, all sorts of things, right, all the time. If you look at like something like Mystery Science Theater, I was a huge fan growing up. I grew up on Mystery Science. That's a show where they're making fun of like old movies, right? And so you're watching other people watching movies is the concept, right? So there's the idea of somebody, you know, wanting to watch other people play games. In that context, seems completely natural. And of course, this is one of the reasons I made the video. I wanted to show that this is a thing. Now, is this stuff gonna make it onto the mainstream? I don't think it's a mainstream thing quite yet, but it's known to be a thing. It's kind of like an anime or something, right? Anime is something where everyone knows anime exists, but if you're into anime, you're still you're an anime person, right? But if you're into like some kind of pop music, you're just that doesn't mean anything. Like if you listen to Drake, that's not that's not like you're that type of person. I know there's a feud and everything with
I was about to say
Drake,
it.
But that wasn't the best example. But yeah, just like I don't know, some like Ariana Grande or something, right? It's kind of whatever, right? Choose your mainstream kind of pop diet, and you'll see that there's a difference between that and something like anime or even being into gaming. So I think there is that difference, but I think there's a bridging that's going on. Gaming is kind of considered like a subculture, right? And so there's kind of it's kind of decentralized. There's if you're not part of the whole ecosystem, the mainstream, I guess, if you want to put it that way, then it's kind of the Wild West. And of course, these people are seeing the parents are seeing their kids play Fortnite, raging in their rooms by themselves, and it's like doesn't look good, right? I mean, the parents are not going to understand that something really unfair happened in the game, or they got killed in the most unfair way possible, and they're just like to parents it looks really bad, right? And the latest video that I made kind of touches upon this idea that like I think when you bring gaming as an activity offline, it's just better. I think for especially in fighting games, one of the things I love all the great netcode and online play getting more and more accessible for people. But I still think like the offline tournaments and the gatherings and meetups are extremely important. And I think this is kind of the future of how, if gaming were to be taken a little bit more seriously, competitive gaming in particular, it's going to have to look something like this, where it's an activity where people can make friends and like we met each other through all this stuff. Like I'm wearing the shirt, the Canada Cup shirt, right?
That did not escape my vision, so I was just so
yeah, I was hoping you'd notice. Yeah,
I was so happy to see that shirt again.
Yeah, but I mean, this comes from this kind of online culture. I mean, we met in Korea, and here we are still today. Talking to each other about these topics and playing these games, right? So I think that's the valuable thing that I think more people need to experience but then at the same time, I actually think it's good for pushing this gaming project or whatever you want to call it forward, right? I think it's helpful for that project as well. So I think overall, when you're with other people, we can all become better together, right? And so it's I think it's a good thing, and this is kind of how I see what the future of this would look like. That said, there's still a lot of kind of the perception of competitive gaming and gaming in general is very it's seen as a monolith by a lot of people who don't understand it, right? They just they might see the worst aspects of it, and okay, this is like a children's activity, or this is toxic, and then they'll extrapolate that to the entire project. Whereas if you do play games, you know that there are pockets of this that can be toxic, but then there's the good aspects too, and then you know that different games and different there's subcultures among the games, and Call of Duty community versus Fortnite communities, they're different. You can see the nuances if you're steeped in it, but if you're not, you just see it as one thing. I mean, it's like if you take a category like films, nobody's saying like watching films is a toxic thing. It's like you would ask, well, what kind of films are you watching, right? Like, if you're just watching, like, you could be watching educational documentaries, or you can be watching snuff films. There's a very big difference, right? So even in gaming, I think it's there's such a wide range, maybe even a wider range, and I think it's not quite there in the mainstream consciousness. The question of how it gets there and what it would look like, it's still kind of hard to see. But I think I think the key would be making this activity kind of a communal thing, because there's the gameplay aspect, like sports, right? I mean, imagine how different soccer would be if no one ever met each other and it was just only online in a game. Like,
I think they call that
community
Rocket
of soccer
League.
and everything. Yeah, right, there you go, Rocket League, right? But I mean, it's there's a difference there, right? But then I guess, like, even if you are online and not meeting in person per se, there's different ways of managing those communities as well that can be productive towards children that are growing up and all that stuff. So I feel really old talking about this subject like this, but yeah, I'm like, wow, this is what about the children, right? Think about the kids.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
Kind of thing. But I don't know. It's a real thing, and it opened my eyes when I talked to the teachers and professors that are actually in this field right now, which I didn't even know existed until I went to Canada in March.
But yeah, that was really interesting. But it does bring me to one of our community questions, actually.
Sure.
This came in from one of our top players, CNQ12. Which, interestingly enough, he told us that, like, your videos about getting better at fighting games and the miracle of Pakistani Tekken is what drove him into the FGC to begin with.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But the question he did ask was, do you think that fighting games and fighting game esports will ever become mainstream esports like MOBAs and shooters? And if so, should they?
Yeah. That's a deep question, and I think it's kind of been a question that's been on a lot of people's minds for a long time now. And looking at the state of fighting games, the way it is compared to other genres, I think fighting games are a little bit, they're different in that that there's so many fighting games now. It's like when you talk about fighting games, like, well, what fighting game, right? If you look at something like Street Fighter versus Sailor Moon S, I love Sailor Moon S and I love Street Fighter, but they're very different. In terms of size and scope of the game on a competitive scale, they're very different. And so I guess what would happen is it would have to be a game that's played on a bigger scale. Not necessarily, like, if you look at something like Street Fighter, the franchise is, I mean, Street Fighter 6 is killing it, especially in Japan right now. It's gotten almost, it's penetrating mainstream appeal at this point. I remember I went to it wasn't EVO, it was Capcom Cup this year. And just going around, like, you can see the Street Fighter 6 being played on in Tokyo. Like, there's like cafes and stuff, and you'll see like matches being played. And of course, it might be because, like, the owner might be into gaming in general, but this is the thing. Like fighting games have not really been on the forefront. It hasn't been a forefront genre in gaming as a whole, right? But I feel like in Japan right now, if you think about competitive gaming and esports to the Japanese, Street Fighter is one of the games that people think about, and that's a big deal because Korea has it as well with Tekken. Like Nii is somebody that has been on like variety shows on television. So I think it's going to be like a specific game, and then everything else, all the other games are related because they're that kind of game, right? Yeah, if it were to kind of penetrate into the main, well, not the mainstream, but like in terms of esports mainstream, I guess. Yeah, it would be some specific select games, and it's kind of hard to say what exactly that might be because different regions have different preferences for games. If you go to Pakistan, the games there that are huge there are King of Fighters and Tekken. Obviously, it's known for Tekken in the greater FGC because of Arslan Ash and the big story behind Pakistani Tekken. But if you go to Pakistan, like people love King of Fighters there, and there are people who just play King of Fighters as their main game that just they have a pocket Tekken skills and they'll crush like everybody. Yeah, I think that's one of the things to consider when seeing this thing get bigger as a whole. That said, I think I used this example before on a different podcast, but I think that on some level we have to understand that fighting games are just going to be it's just going to be like it's mustard and other things are ketchup, right? Mustard will never be more popular than ketchup, right? But that doesn't mean mustard is not awesome and mustard should exist. Are we going to change mustard so it tastes more like ketchup? Are we going to, it's mustard is mustard, right? And it's awesome. I love mustard. I saw one of the future questions if I like what I put on my hot dog, 100% mustard over ketchup, right? So is our fighting games mustard, and our attempts to kind of make it into something else, are we trying to make it into ketchup and making something kind of weird out of that? And it's I don't know if that analogy lands with a lot of people, but it lands with me, so I'm gonna stick with it.
The irony of this whole thing is that in that discussion in our Discord about hot dogs, CNQ adamantly came out and said he hates ketchup, so
yeah, there you
the
go.
irony is not lost on me.
Yeah. Some people like, a lot of people like both, but yeah, it's not a contest, right?
But since you mentioned that question, I'm just gonna straight ask. This is from one of our local players, Zugini. Hey Gerald, what do you get on your hot dogs beyond the ketchup?
Well, to hot dogs, I'm mustard 100% and relish. So mustard and relish are my combinations. I don't mess with onions or any of that kind of stuff. So that's my combo.
And also, what makes Korean hot dogs so much better than the rest of the world?
I think what Korea does well is the street corn dog things. Those are pretty decadent. I think they like fry them and put like potato around them, and I think Korea is really good at those. But I think the standard hot dogs are I like the Western kind when it comes to just bun and frank and sauces. I think that's I still like the Western kind. I in Denmark they have a place called a Steff Hulberg, which they're known for. It's like a mainstream franchise there, but they have really good hot dogs there that are the Western style. So I think the Korean style it's kind of its own thing. I don't like it's pretty crazy. I'm sure you've seen the YouTube videos, and you were in Korea, so you've seen those hot dogs. But yeah, those are my thoughts on hot dogs.
It's actually funny because we now have like a chain going around Ontario called Chungcheon that does the Korean rice hot dogs. And they're expanding so rapidly. You'll actually see them on the boards at like Toronto Maple Leafs games now.
Wow, I did not know that. That's crazy. I actually went to a hockey game not too long ago. I was in LA, and yeah, I'm American, not Canadian. I have Canadian friends who talk about hockey a lot, but yeah, I went to um, watch the Anaheim Ducks in Anaheim, and yeah, their concessions are concessions were really good. They're pretty god tier, but very expensive. I don't know why in North America you have to tip so much, but damn.
What? I love tipping.
All right. Yeah, I totally agree on the tipping, though. Oh my gosh, it's gotten out of
That's
control.
a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. So in your video, The Effects of Salt, it's actually hit 2.6 million views on YouTube. And it is your third most watched video on your channel.
Yeah.
And actually, many people cited this as what pulled them into more niche fighters.
Yeah. I can see that, yeah.
Especially in our community, we're actually growing a pretty big Nidhogg scene, so...
Oh, Nidhogg, yeah. It's a classic indie.
Yeah, and I think what really drives people to them tends to be like the static nature, of the meta. It gives them chances to fully learn the game to the highest of their ability without having to worry about developers pulling the rug up under their legs. But in recent years, like the discourse around that video seems to have shifted. Sailor Moon S, for example, which was the featured game at the end of the Effects of Salt video, it's experiencing a major upheaval. In recent years, not only have bans happened with Sailor Uranus being banned, now there are community ROM hacks that exist that patches are completely out of the game. As one of the only 3 Evo champions of this game, do you feel like the community is missing the point of this video?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not like a community organizer for Sailor Moon, or anything like that. I'm a player and a content creator, right? So I don't know how the community is feeling these days about the game. But it's, yeah, I mean, if people are banning Uranus in the game, then this is, obviously the community right now has kind of taken control of the game, right? And what their ideas are with this game, I can't tell because I haven't talked to anybody there, but I imagine it's because some people got really salty by this character, and those people are making the calls on how the game should be played. And I think it could be that. Is it like all these people talking about how this character is busted and we can't have this character? Is it like Steve in Smash Ultimate?
It's kind of that, and it is largely directed by migrants from like the Smash communities, and largely what I've seen of the discourse has largely been based off of a task video showing like perfect Uranus play causing like 9-1 matchups.
Yeah, well, this is, I guess it's kind of an issue with fighting games and fighting game balance in general. There's there's a difference between what's technically possible and what's practically possible. And you're a Uranus player, so you would know better than I would. But it's if you can do the infinite perfect every single time, how does that affect the meta? But then people disagree with how good a character is. But that comes down to the players playing them, and you have to kind of prove it, right? I think an example of this is so Akuma is busted in ST, as you know, but then the HD remix, I think Serlin kind of rebalanced it,
right,
so that Akuma would be more palatable. But then I think was it Damdai?
Yes, it was.
Basically, I think Damdai just kind of showed that, like, just started winning everything with this Akuma, and kind of change the conversation through that way, right? So if these things kind of happen with like banning characters or and whatnot, I think the community kind of has to have, there needs to be some kind of consensus among like the greater community. But then some communities are so small that it's kind of like, you can have like a community where there's like very few people have like have all the say, right? And compared to like a giant community, like you don't have people, talking about the state of Sailor Moon S all over Twitter right now, as there is with Tekken 8, right? So it's kind of a different situation, and I think in those kind of games, I think a lot of these kind of decisions kind of go down to the how the community's run and managed, and I don't know. I haven't seen these task videos, but and they could be onto something, but for me, I think it's more important the practical aspects of. I mean, like it's like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, like Magneto Infinites. It's there's an executional gap, right, between the different players, and how hard something is to do in a match absolutely does matter. And if a character is really powerful, but like it's only powerful in certain people's hands, then I think that does change what should be allowed and what's not. Then that person can say something like, if that person's character gets banned because they got too good with it, then are we like nerfing good players, or is it the character? And I think this is one of the hardest things about balance in general. And I think, but I also think that if people just jump to conclusions, they just go on something, make decisions by reacting to something rather than responding to something, then you just get a game where it's, if you're changing the game constantly, then we won't ever know who's actually good at the game. Right. So it's a balancing act, I think. But I think the retro games, maybe I'm sounding too conciliatory right now, but I do think retro games should be left alone in general. And I mean, if you look at Third Strike, which is considered the retro game, right? Retro fighting game. Like, how many viable characters are there at the highest levels in tournament, right? It's not half the cast, I'll tell you, right?
Right, exactly.
Spoiler alert. But like, I'm sure Third Strike might be different if, let's say, only one character was viable. Let's say it was just like Chun or something. Like, if you didn't play Chun, then there's no way you can be the top in the game, which, it's not that far off from the truth in Third Strike in a lot of ways. But if you look at Third Strike tournaments, you still have like, you saw Hugo in top 8.
Right,
Evo,
exactly.
Right. So it's, and that was one of the hypest things. It was even considered Moment 38 because it was so crazy. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think people generally know that I'm somebody who doesn't want to mess too much with the game too quickly.
Yeah, I am. I find myself in total agreement with you, and part of my reasoning is again, like, is how realistic is a task video versus real life application, but then also like that also for me, I believe, becomes a slippery slope of, well, all right, so one of the common themes in the task video is like invincible forward dash for Uranus being really strong if done perfectly all the time. But then that becomes a slippery slope for me because you have Chibi Moon that is completely invulnerable with her backdash if she does it perfectly. So wouldn't that be considered ban worthy as well? But then you add to a slippery slope that if you're completely inhuman and able to do like a frame perfect input, Sailor Moon also has an infinite backdash as well. So but if you look at Big Zam with the Chibi backdash, I mean that's that's hype.
Yeah,
right? Exactly.
You need to, but you need to be able to like have the execution and here's another thing with Sailor Moon, the Sailor Moon S. Like, I mean, let's be real here. This is not a game with like a player base of hundreds of thousands of people all over the world, right? And as a matter of fact, if the player base of Sailor Moon S was something like, let's say, like Street Fighter 6, then I think the meta would look very different. We might actually learn some other things about the game.
Exactly.
And so it's kind of the size of the player base of this game is, like, even we do have like players that are pushing the game to the limits in Sailor Moon S, but if we were imagine if that were like 1,000-fold,
Right.
that would be insane. The game would be like, there'd be a new way of playing the game, and the thing is, you get as far as you can with whatever the game is there. But I think it goes back to the honers innovators thing as well. It's another topic of one of my videos where some people want the innovating part of a game, which is when the game is new, when there's stuff that's kind of not figured out, ambiguous, and it's about creating a new way of playing, right? But and if people feel that they're at a point where that's not progressing or that's not happening, they're not able to do new stuff, they want to change the rules of the game. And yeah, I think this might be one of those things where people want to change the rules because it's becoming too honer heavy or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's actually a fair point to make as well. So yeah, but also so yeah, moving on to the next question. Like, in your early years, you've been known to have worked closely with like the Korean fighting game legend Laugh. And you did, and in fact, at the beginning, you did a multi-video series called Breaking Ultra Street Fighter 4 that discussed a lot of the technical nuances to the game that people hadn't really paid attention to. And I also know that you did do regular lab sessions with him over the years, largely in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo and then Ultra Street Fighter 4 as well. And in your time working and playing with him, how did he influence your gameplay? And not just that, but your work on Core Gaming?
Yeah, Laugh is a very scientific player, and a lab monster. Just creates these situations and solves them with science, which is kind of the whole Breaking Bad reference to the series. And this is kind of like old school Core Gaming, where the channel kind of did a lot of different kinds of content, like tutorials and stuff. But obviously, I'm kind of now more doing the video essays. I think this is kind of where I can contribute the most. I think there's a lot of people that are doing great breakdowns of the game, characters, and tutorials. So so that's kind of what I'm focused on now. But yeah, in those days, those kind of things were the most interesting to me. And I guess, yeah, one of the influences that he's had on me and my content is the way he thinks about the games. There's a video called The 3 Types of Fighting Gamers, talking about Laugh's theory on and this is kind of more of an analysis on how people approach the game and the different variations on that. And that's that kind of blew my mind, and it's stuff like that that's always made me that's always given me ideas to make videos, and my conversations with people who are super obsessed and love these games reveal all sorts of conversations that I wasn't seeing on YouTube. There's a lot of stuff about lore, tutorials, educational stuff, but what about the question of how do you fight somebody who's high?
Oh man,
What?
I'm so high right now. I have no idea what's going on.
Like, what kind of strategies do you have against that, right? Those are interesting. And I think there's a lot of untapped potential for fighting game content. People are afraid to talk about mechanics and the more technical, nerdy things. And talking about psychology is also, the psychology of the game is very, I mean, it's the psychology of anything is kind of a touchy issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so those videos take more research. You might have to read a couple books just to get your bearings on how to touch those topics. But yeah, those are kind of the things that I like to talk about. And then of course I put the standard fare of like hype moments in the game or in the videos because the stuff that makes fighting games exciting and the characters and stuff, I want to inject those into the content as well. This is something Maximilian Dude is the best at, of course. Just he knows how to hype. You show his hype through the camera for all the things that are going on in games, and you know he's honest about it, and yeah, there's like an authenticity there, right? And I do want to channel that energy into the videos as well. But my core is kind of the more analytical aspects, and Laugh was a great influence for that because some of my best conversations in fighting games have come from him, and of course he really understands Street Fighter in a deep way. I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that he's a Ryu player who's also scientific. So there's a lot of playing Ryu, playing the boring character on the poster that has that can also bring a lot of insights into the game as a whole, I think. But yeah, I think yeah. But yeah, I haven't really talked to him recently. I think he's moved to another city. So yeah, he's definitely influenced my channel.
Yeah, and it is interesting that you did bring up the psychology, because I wanted to ask you about that. You have been known to interject works of all media in your analysis videos, but most notably literature and psychology, where you have cited like Kahneman's thinking fast and slow, and even like the tenets of like cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavioral therapy in discussing the psychology of competitive fighting games. What are some of those psychological and philosophical aspects of competing at the highest level that you feel like might be the most overlooked?
I think something that's so I'm reading another book right now. It's called 10% Happier by Dan Harris. He's I think an ABC news anchor, super skeptical guy, traveled the world, war correspondent, nearly got himself killed multiple times, and a super type A personality guy who super competitive. Obviously, you have to be competitive to make it to national television on ABC every week, and it led to him having a panic attack in front of 5 million people on television. It was I think it was Good Morning America, or just one of those shows, and I think he had a period of kind of soul searching, and I think he met some people and eventually got into he tried to get into meditation, right? And this is kind of I mean it's interesting because the book kind of, the reason why the book works is that he acknowledges that meditation seems like a kind of like an eccentric activity for a lot of people, or something kind of like, oh, now there's a lot of baggage around the idea of like meditation, mysticism, and spirituality and all that stuff. And his book kind of is like the kind of, he was interested in the practical effects of it, right? And so I just finished the book yesterday actually, and in the end he talks about like how the U.S. military is incorporating it into I think the Marines are now meditating, right?
Oh wow!
And if you want to talk about fighters, the Marines are some of the most ferocious fighters. The U.S. Marines are some of the most ferocious fighters that you can have and train. And of course, there's scientific evidence backing like different areas of the brain being activated or deactivated depending on the state, called mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
and basically meditation is where you practice this thing called mindfulness, where you've seen the typical poses of people like sitting cross-legged on the ground and chanting stuff, but really simply where you close your eyes and you sit down and you try to notice your thoughts. It seems kind of weird, but
Right.
it's the idea is that the human condition is basically one where you constantly have thoughts that are falling into your mind. It's a torrent. You're thinking like, oh, do I look ugly in this? Oh, my hair looks kind of weird. Or oh man, that person has a really nice car. We have these ruminations in our minds and all these thoughts, and the idea is you just close your eyes, sit down, and you just notice that that's happening. You notice these ideas are coming into your head, and you don't make any judgments about it. So you might have like a thought. You might have some thought of some embarrassing thing you did. I wish I wouldn't have said that. But instead of like ruminating or biting, like getting baited by it, you notice that thought. It's like, oh, so yeah, that thought just came into my mind, and you don't have any judgments on it, and then you just wait until it dissipates. And this is the practice. This practice is basically training your mind muscle to not get carried away by some of these cognitive distortions, right? So the cognitive distortions, among the many thoughts there, a lot of them are cognitive distortions, which I made a video about. And the idea of mindfulness, if it can be effectively trained to the maximum, would be that you would be able to have these thoughts that are messing with your behavior you can just let them pass by you, right? One of the analogies in the book was that there's the torrent of your thoughts that are coming into your head constantly. It's like a waterfall, and you're just getting soaked in this waterfall. You're just getting hit by this waterfall constantly. That's your default state. And when you're in mindfulness, you go into that little safe area where right behind the waterfall, where you can just notice the water just falling down, right? And imagine how incredibly useful that would be if you're in the middle of a match and you're playing, and one of these thoughts come, but you're able to avoid it because you are now behind the waterfall. You're not getting hit by the thoughts of, oh no, I'm so like I'm screwed after this combo. Oh my god, this is over. Oh, I dropped that combo. Like this means that I'm gonna be at a huge disadvantage, and there's no way I can win this now. And if those thoughts were just passing thoughts to you without any judgment, I wonder if that could be a next level psychological trick or maneuver, I guess. I don't know. This is just speculation. I'm not ready to make a video about it, but very much it's always interested me ever since I saw Tokido doing like little meditation breaks, pausing. Mm-hmm. And in the book, I read a lot about the idea of pausing and how multitasking is actually inefficient for humans. I mean, these are all big topics that can be unpacked and everything, but I'm wondering if mindfulness, to answer your question, maybe that is the one psychological thing that people are sleeping on in terms of fighting games or esports in general. And actually, athletes are doing it too. Like athletes at the highest level are practicing mindfulness as well. So, yeah, this is something where I think I will definitely make a video on at one point once I'm kind of more familiar with the topic. I might have to actually read some Buddhist texts or something. But of the stuff that I've been reading, it has been interesting, and the fact that it's already being used in traditional sports is kind of telling how the potential for this kind of thing. And I think it would be helpful for people in general, not just type A personalities, right? So yeah, that's the one thing I would say if anyone's sleeping on anything, potentially that. But I'd have to kind of look into it more.
Actually, this does fall in line with Smart Esports and our mission, and our vision is to provide those soft skills learned from gaming, such as like resiliency, collaboration, and critical thinking. Because like after the games, like what we take away, win or lose, is the character that we build, and definitely mindfulness, I believe, is such a powerful tool to develop such resiliency. And anecdotally, I can say that it really does. It just in a real world example, like at Canada East Championships this year, I was in yet another grand finals with Russell and Neo Russell in Sailor Moon S, and I've been known to choke those situations very famously,
Yeah.
and was on winner's side, get 3-0'd on winner's side for the reset, and started see like you said, like the waterfall was beating, and was able to take a step back, get behind it, like, and start thinking more critically, like accepting the situation as it was, and then starting to adjust, and ultimately came out with a 3-2 win in the reset. So I do believe
Nice. Yeah.
that you are onto something, and I think a video that expounds more on that would be amazing.
Awesome. Well, I'm definitely gonna consider that. That will also be on my drawing board. I'm gonna die on you in an hour. I think I just look like some guy who's doing spreadsheets on my computer from afar. I really like the art style for one. It kind of drew me in because
Whoever loses had to remove a layer of clothing.
that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, if I were just watching this without any of the behind the scenes that you described to me, it feels like yeah, just like this was all intentional.